So if you've been following the global AI chess match, you probably know the usual story, right? The US and China are miles ahead, and Europe is just kind of scrambling to figure out its own digital sovereignty. But in this explainer, we're flipping that script. We're diving into the paradox of Mistral, a Paris-based company taking a wild, venture-funded swing at the European AI problem.
To see why Mistral is a really big deal right now, we just need to look at one massive number. $400 million. That's their projected annual recurring revenue by January 2026. Now, context is everything here. Going from around 20 million to 400 million in a single year. In the traditional European tech scene, that is almost unheard of. That's a staggering 20x year-over-year growth. It literally proves European AI isn't just some academic thought experiment anymore. It's a massive, revenue-generating powerhouse pulling real market share.
All right, let's quickly map out where we're headed. We've got 6 parts today. 1, the commercial frontier path. 2, Mistral versus the Consortium. 3, the frontier benchmark reality. 4, the Apache 2.0 Moat. 5, validating sovereign AI. And finally, 6, winning a different race. Let's get right into it.
Part 1, the commercial frontier path.
Looking at their timeline, it's pretty clear Mistral is completely breaking the typical European mold. They launched in April 2023, pulling elite talent straight out of Google DeepMind and Meta, and immediately went after American-style venture capital. I mean, we're talking a 385 million euro Series A, exploding into a 2 billion euro investment at a 12 billion euro valuation by late 2025. They proved a massive point here. If you actually pony up the capital and the ambition, you don't have to lose your absolute best minds to Silicon Valley. You can keep them right there in Paris.
But they aren't just sitting in a cloud writing code. By March 2026, they snagged another $830 million specifically for physical data centers in France and Sweden. Their big flagship model, Mistral Large 3, was trained entirely from scratch on a huge cluster of 3,000 NVIDIA H200 GPUs. And here's the so what of all this. They are vertically integrating. Historically, Europe's AI bottleneck was waiting in line to use shared government-funded supercomputers. By owning their own hardware access, Mistral is grabbing a level of independence that fundamentally changes the game for the whole continent.
Which brings us to Part 2, Mistral versus the Consortium. This really highlights the night-and-day difference between Mistral's hyper-fast private path and the classic academic approach. Take the Open Euro LLM project. It's a pan-European, state-backed academic consortium with about 37.4 million euros in funding, hoping to push out maybe 2 deliverables a year. Now contrast that with Mistral, operating at commercial frontier scale with over 3 billion euros raised. Just let that gap sink in. 37 million versus 3 billion. Mistral isn't sitting around waiting on some cross-border committee to approve buying a single graphics card. That freedom unlocks an entirely different gear.
I mean, think about this. While a state lab is probably still stuck drafting a roadmap proposal, Mistral dropped 6 major products in just 15 days. Look at this crazy run for March 2026. Day 1, Mistral Small 4. Day 4, a text-to-speech model called Voxtral. Day 8, Leanstral for math proofs. Then a developer platform, a CLI, and by day 15 they're anchoring an NVIDIA coalition. This multi-product flywheel is just structurally totally different from a public sector lab. More products mean more enterprise deals, which means more revenue, which pays for more compute. It's compounding and it's happening at warp speed.
Moving to Part 3, the frontier benchmark reality.
Okay, so here is the harsh reality of the situation. Despite all that momentum, independent benchmark data from early 2026 shows that on the absolute hardest reasoning tasks, like the GP-QKA Diamond benchmark, Mistral Large 3 scored around 44%. Now compare that to Google's Gemini 3 Pro sitting at nearly 92%. That is a massive capability gap. The hard truth here is that even with 3 billion euros, catching up to the absolute peak US models is incredibly tough. When your competitors are dropping tens of billions a year, the raw intelligence curve is brutally steep.
And you see that gap in production speed too. Mr. Large 3 runs at roughly 38 tokens per second. Now yes, that's an operational trade-off because it's a massive 675 billion parameter model, but if you're an enterprise user, that's a real problem. In the business world, slow output literally means lost time, bottlenecked workflows, and just a clunky user experience. So it's not just about reasoning power. They're also fighting a serious uphill battle against the highly optimized, blazingly fast US frontier models. But we've got to look at the whole picture here. Yes, the massive frontier model lags behind the US, but, and this is a huge but, their smaller, specialized models are absolutely crushing it. Their Mistral 14 billion parameter reasoning model actually hit an amazing 85% on the AME 2025 math benchmark. That outright beats heavy hitters like QN14B. Building a smaller model that punches this far above its weight class, that is the holy grail of efficient AI. It proves their underlying engineering talent is definitely world-class, even if they hit a wall trying to outspend the giants on the massive runs.
Part 4. The Apache 2.0 Moat.
So how do you compete when you can't win on raw horsepower? Well, you completely change the rules of the game. Mistral releases almost everything they build under an Apache 2.0 license. This is a super permissive open-source license that basically hands the model weights directly to the public. You can tweak it, you can fine-tune it, and crucially, you can install it straight onto your own private company servers for commercial use. It totally flips the script on the closed proprietary API models from OpenAI or Google. And this is the real secret sauce. Apache 2.0 isn't just about playing nice and being open. It's a massive structural moat. Think about it. If you're a European defense contractor, are you really going to beam your highly classified data over to a server in California? Absolutely not. Between strict GDPR privacy laws and the massive new EU AI Act, you literally can't. Mistral lets you self-host locally with zero vendor lock-in. US companies just can't offer that level of absolute local control without tearing down their own highly profitable cloud models. Mistral is selling exactly what European regulators and hyper-secure companies are demanding.
Which takes us to Part 5. Validating Sovereign AI.
As the author of our source material points out, European industrial capital recognizing Mistral as the European AI champion worth strategic concentration. That phrasing is so important. Mistral isn't just relying on Silicon Valley venture capitalists anymore. Heavy industrial money is a totally different beast. They invest in core infrastructure for the long haul, not just a quick app flip. When the titans of European industry look at Mistral's strict compliance and localized servers, they're basically saying, yep, this is the secure foundation we are going to build our future on. To put that into perspective, look at who is actually signing the checks here. ASML, the massive Dutch semiconductor company, poured $1.5 billion into Mistral, making them their biggest shareholder. The European Space Agency is actively running secure operations on their platform. CMA-CGM, the giant French shipping company, locked in a €100 million partnership. This is old-school European industry voting with their wallets. They don't actually care if a model scores 92% on some random benchmark test. They want a highly specialized, totally secure, on-premise AI that they have absolute control over.
And finally, Part 6. Winning a different race. When you put all this together, you get a really fascinating playbook. Step 1 for Europe might actually be to stop obsessing over matching the US on frontier capabilities, because honestly, playing the pure compute game is a structural trap right now. Step 2 is to completely own the compliance and sovereignty market, where Europe's heavy regulations actually give them a massive home field advantage. And Step 3 is to absolutely dominate specialized industrial verticals, like semiconductors, space, and shipping. Mistral is showing us that if you hyper-focus on those specific areas, you can build an absolute fortress.
So, Mistral is proving that you can absolutely build a massive, commercially successful AI giant by running a totally different, highly specialized race. Which leaves us with this final thought. For years, everybody's been asking, when is Europe going to build its own ChatGPT? But maybe we've been asking the wrong question all along. Does Europe actually need a generic ChatGPT clone? Or is winning the highly secure, heavily regulated enterprise market the true meaning of AI sovereignty? Thanks for joining this explainer, and keep questioning the narrative.